I flew this low-cost airline just days before they ceased operations. Good evening from the Calgary International Airport. Seb here, and welcome to a kind of interesting but also bittersweet video. I originally intended for this to just be a regular trip report, but after hearing some sad recent news, I learned that this would be my last time traveling with Lynx Air. In this video, I will be flying from Calgary to Vancouver and back and reviewing the flights and also talking about why Lynx Air has made the decision to cease operations. After a super straightforward walk through check-in and security due to there being almost nobody there, I found myself at gate A19. Lynx Air operates a fleet of only Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft, so both flights in this video will be on one, this one being registered Charlie Golf Uniform Lima November. I will also be sitting in the bulkhead row on both these flights, so that means a lot of extra legroom, even though it does cost just a little bit more. The reason I even flew this route on Lynx Air was because, being a low-cost airline, it was the cheapest option out of 3 flights that consecutively departed Calgary for Vancouver. However, little did I know that I would be one of the last people to ever actually fly on this airline. Anyway, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get on board. My seat for today is 2F, the very front row on the right side. I'll get to more about the cabin review and about Lynx Air itself once we're in the air. But for now, here's our departure off of YYC's runway 35 left. Now that we're in the air, let's take a look at Lynx Air's cabin and in-flight service, and we'll also go over why they made the decision to shut down. Because this is the bulkhead row, the tray table does not come out of the seat in front, but it rather comes out of the armrest like this, and it is pretty sturdy and pretty sizable as well. It does also adjust and has a built-in cup holder. Now, the seat back, or in this case, bulkhead pocket, contains the usual air sickness bag and safety card. Up top on the overhead panel, we have a nice little reading light and an air vent thingy. And now for the loo review. The bathroom on board, well, being not overly spacious at all, is actually one of the cleanest ones I've ever been in. A bit of a big downside here, as you can see on the sign, is that there are no chargers or in-flight meal service. In fact, the only thing coming close to a full meal service is just a singular glass of water. which is not really a problem on a 1 hour long flight like this, but I get how people could be a bit annoyed by that on something like Vancouver to Toronto, for instance. Now, the obviously best thing about the seat I'm in right now is the excellent legroom, being, of course, the bulkhead row. However, this does cost a little bit more, as mentioned earlier, but the thing that contributes the most to how much your trip will actually cost is the amount of bags that you bring on board, because sometimes if you bring so many bags, it can actually outnumber the base fare of the entire trip. So that's a thing you may want to consider when flying other low-cost carriers, because that's the way most of them work. Now I'll take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about Lynx Air itself. Lynx Air was originally formed as a charter company in 2006 called Enerjet, which was first known as New Air and Tours, and then it was just Enerjet for a while. In 2021, the company originally revealed its new name, Lynx Air, and they made their first flight in early 2022. However, unfortunately, not even 2 years later, they made the decision to cease operations. The airline announced the compounding financial pressures from inflation, fuel costs, exchange rates, capital cost, regulatory costs, and overall competition in the market proved too high a mountain for them to overcome. And now they are filing for creditor protection, and they will cease all flights as of February 26th, 2024. This was quite unfortunate news, and I can only imagine how hard it's been and will be for those who work at Lynx Air and those who were booked on flights after the day when they will stop flying. I'm definitely going to miss seeing and flying on Lynx Air as well, because the few times that I did fly on them, they quickly became one of my favorite little airlines, and I'll talk a bit more about that in just a minute, but for now, here is our approach and landing on YVR's runway 26 right, landing 31 minutes ahead of schedule. Now that we've arrived at YVR, this would normally be the end of my trip report video, but I decided to make this one a kind of double trip report to fit in a few more remarks, and also because this is definitely my last time ever flying Lynx Air. So after kicking around in Vancouver for a few days and having the time of my life, it was eventually time to head back to the airport to catch one final flight with Lynx. Now, I will say that it is a bit of a strange feeling learning after the fact that you were one of the last passengers for an airline to ever carry, and this was especially true in this scenario because they made the big announcement not even 3 days after this flight took place. The experience on this return flight itself was not all that different from the flight on the way over to Vancouver, except that I showed up so early that the check-in desk was not even set up at the time that I got there. Other than that, the in-flight features were virtually the same. Anyway, let's take to the skies once more off of YVR's runway 08 right, and then I will give my own words of praise to Lynx Air. Lynx Air. After flying them 4 times in the past year, I quickly grew quite fond of them for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why. Maybe it was that every single flight I took with them was either on time or early. Maybe it was the super clean bathrooms. Perhaps it was because they provided a good alternative to the Spotify airline that commits tax evasion. Or maybe it was even just because I'm a cat person. Anyway, whatever it was, I really enjoyed the friendly small airline vibe that they created. Lynx Air was widely known by their call sign, Dauntless, but even then, there are some situations which the most dauntless of us all still cannot handle, and the airline did lose $188 million over the past 2 years. My heart goes out to each and every person who has been affected by this end of a short but sweet era of Canadian aviation history. Now it is time to land one last time on YYC's runway 17 right. So, that brings an end to this very special trip report, which I hope you enjoyed watching. Farewell and Godspeed, Lynx Air. Thank you for the dauntless memories.